All right, thanks everyone for having us today. Hope you guys had a lunch and a really productive morning. So my name is Kepple. I'm the co-founder and managing partner of L2IV. We're an early stage crypto venture firm based out of the Bay Area in the US, and also with offices in Asia, Hong Kong, and Seoul. And today I'll be leading a panel discussion on the frontiers of AI and Web3 investing. So before I start, maybe I'll have the panelists here today to give a brief introduction of themselves and their firms. Satoshi, you want to start?
Hi everyone, my name is Satoshi Shinada. I'm based in Nigeria, West Africa, which is the biggest country in the continent, and I've been running our Kepple Africa Ventures / Build Kepple Africa Ventures fund since 2018, and actually I have lived and worked in Nigeria for 10 years now. Our fund is the biggest Japan / Asian VC fund, investing in Pan-African startups, and we also cover MENA region, including Saudi Arabia and UAE. So today, hope I can add interesting perspectives from different use cases and the reality on the ground from this market. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm TEAMZ. So I have two investment vehicles. The main one is called DFG, so I started this firm back to 2015. So this year is 10 years for our firm. We use our own capital to invest, so we don't have any LPs in the last 10 years. We invest on the secondary market and also in the primary market as well. So we have more than 100 different portfolios right now, and we keep trying to invest in decent crypto projects. Our AUM, just for this cycle, already exceed $1 billion. So we want to keep growing our business and keep kind of focused on supporting the good founders. Separate from that, like 4 years ago, I co-founded another investment vehicle called J-Square with my partner Joanna. So that was a little bit different than this one. So we actually raising fund for that investment vehicle. So I think just per month ago we closed a $50 billion fund for that brand. So but both of the investment vehicle are actually supporting the good founders in this area.
Hey everybody, I'm Justin. So I've been in startups for about 20 years. I started my first company, it was a game company called Zynga, social mobile gaming company, back when I was 19. And that's a story of how technology disrupted the distribution and the monetization of games. So I've always been on the forefront of thinking about how new technology can change the distribution of media and the way that people experience it and the way that the creators make money. So naturally, I've landed in crypto from the early days, and more recently I'm running a new protocol that we're going to be announcing shortly called the Open Game Protocol, and I've been advising a bunch of sort of Web3 crypto game projects along the way, like Immutable and Dapper Labs and some others. I personally angel invested in about 150 companies over the last 13 years, and then I run a fund that's focused on Japan with Keisuke Honda. It's called X and Keisuke, so we have a $100 million fund focused on investing in Japanese companies.
Thank you, gentlemen. Maybe I can kick off our panel today by asking, why the audience are here today, given the convergence of AI and crypto, what are some compelling investment opportunities that you guys seeing right now? Are they concentrated in particular sectors like DeFi? Can you guys maybe share a bit about that? Maybe we'll start off with James and.
So as AI relates to DeFi, so I think that this has been something I've heard from a number of people, that AI may be very complementary to crypto. And I think the reason for this is we're about to have an explosion of new content, right? And so in a world of abundance with a lot of new content, what is the organizing system to value that content? I think there's a natural role that crypto has to play in that. That doesn't mean that all the content will be valuable. there's two ways to think about this. There's a lot of investment in the sort of infrastructure of what powers AI, and there's a lot of investment in new media being created by AI, whether it's LLMs or generative image models or video, or even now we're seeing a lot of vibe coding with games. But there should also be a lot of investment for preparing for the onslaught of content and creation that will happen. That's not necessarily powered by AI. And this is the part where I think I've heard fewer people thinking about, but I'm also very excited about. So it's, the internet gave us Google, but Google didn't create the internet. And so in that sense, because there was so much content on the internet, Google became the best and most important business because the internet existed. And so there may be businesses like Google of AI where they're not in the content creation business, but they benefit tremendously from the fact that so much is being created.
Yeah, I think actually it's pretty interesting. A lot of our AI portfolios are not like initially doing AI. For example, we invest into NEAR protocols like a long time ago. I mean, they are not doing AI from the beginning. And there's another like top 50 coin we invest called Randa Network. Also, they are not, focused on AI when they start doing this. But I think make a lot of sense. Just imagine in the traditional world, you have like DeepSeek, like in China, which previously doing basically the high frequency tradings. But now, since the AI trend and AI wave come, because of these connections, actually they kind of rebrand or like refocus their project into AI, which I think make a lot of sense. Because you have these, for NEAR, you have all these kind of original, users and dApps on top of the layer 1 protocols. You have the background of two founders who's AI from AI background. I think that makes a lot of sense. And also on Randa Network, initially they are doing this Randa for like our work, but right now they are doing more like a decentralized computing system. So what I mean is like we will see a lot of actually projects previously are not focused on AI, but have deep connection with the AI space and pivoting their project into more like an AI-focused project. I think that makes a lot of sense because you have this kind of record or previous like data or users which can help you like become successful in the future.
Yeah, maybe I can talk about a few interesting examples from Africa and MENA region. So I think everyone knows about CoreWeave, which has made IPO last month, and their share price was a bit shaking, but I think it's coming up again. And we have like a very similar project in Nigeria. It's a Nigerian version of CoreWeave. And Nigeria is a huge natural gas and crude oil country. They produce natural gas and crude oil, and they have to flare the gas which comes out with crude oil. And they use that gas, which has been spoiled over years, to produce power, and use that power to run AI data center and Bitcoin mining. And I think this kind of infrastructure is also very critical cornerstone to increase the adoption of AI and blockchain use cases in Africa. So it's quite interesting because Africa is always associated with lack of infrastructure, but now by using this wasted flare gas, we have this kind of project coming up. And also, like in the context of Middle East, both UAE and Saudi Arabia has 100 billion fund to push AI and blockchain, and I think they're like one of the most interesting regulatory sandbox for any AI and crypto project. So when you combine Africa with a huge population, with young and huge population, with higher crypto adoption compared to other markets, with this regulatory support and the power of capital from Middle East, I think this Middle East and African region could become a very interesting market for AI and blockchain.
Thank you. Maybe I'll share a bit about what I'm seeing in the Bay Area in terms of how AI is sort of impacting the venture industry. One trend I notice is given AI's ability to help founders developers and engineers especially to code a lot of the software. Right now we're seeing teams are raising less amount of capital to get to product. What that means to us as investors is there's less demand for capital, so for the best deals, it's becoming increasingly competitive for VCs to get into some of the best founders and best teams. Because right now they can really, really lower their costs of hiring. Because startups used to hire, biggest cost for them to raise capital is hire engineers. In the Bay right now, that's a changing dynamic that I've noticed. And it allows them to get to the market sooner with tools now like Cursor. I think Justin just mentioned vibe coding, right? A lot of the AI tools today, most of the use cases are used for coding. So that's what we're seeing. So moving on to the next question, maybe this one for you, Justin. I mean, AI is sort of being integrated into gaming these days. I hear a lot of studios are talking about that. What do you see are the opportunities and risks of integrating AI into gaming? Does AI help the mass adoption or mainstream adoption of Web3 blockchain games?
It's a great question. So I think AI has the chance to kick off a new gaming boom that we haven't seen since the beginning of the mobile app store. In the sense of the mobile app store can only happen once, right? So the whole world was receiving their mobile phones, which means they all came online and they became part of the total addressable market for people who could play games. And now everyone on Earth has played games on their mobile phone. So the real question is, where does the growth come from here? And in the game industry, there's a real bottleneck around the distribution of games through the ad networks. And one of the things that crypto has been very good for has been to create organic distribution through incentives. And that's become something that, for those who use it correctly, can actually find a way to break out from the noise when it's become very, very difficult to do that through the existing ad networks. So I expect we'll see more of that. And what that relates to with AI is the fact that if they're user-generated content, like people are actually making their own games, well then they're also incentivized to share their own games. And in sharing their own games, they're providing distribution for the platforms that they created these games on. And so that also solves the distribution problem that a lot of game companies have been struggling with. So I think what we'll see is an explosion of creativity. I think the studios have to adapt and their cost structure will change. They'll have smaller teams, they'll make higher quality content. You'll see content that's more adapted to the latest trend. So one of the things we've struggled with in games is keeping up with video. Video, as TikTok has continued to grow, has become so responsive to whatever's going on in the media and in the world. And games feel stale, right? We're always building on some constant theme that by the time it comes out, it doesn't feel like it's talking about the current event. You might make a game about Trump, but you're not making a game about tariffs, right? This week is about tariffs. Last month was about something else. Games have not been able to be a part of the conversation in the way that other forms of media have. So what AI does is, in lowering the cost of creation, it makes games able to participate in the conversation that people are having in a way that they haven't been.
Thanks. Maybe a question for both Satoshi and James. Obviously, Web3 has always had a reputation of being hard to use because of poor UX and UI, so leading to low retention. Do you think AI can help sort of alleviate or solve some of those problems? And how?
Yeah, in the African context, I think AI adoption is still low, and in terms of crypto holding, actually it's very high. But I think its use case is quite limited to receiving remittance and also trying to avoid currency fluctuation by holding stablecoin. These are the two major use cases. But I think how AI is actually helping businesses to onboard more customers is, I think, AI working as a kind of fraud detection or an analytics tool, while businesses try to engage more with customers with incentives created by token. And in the African context, the young generation with mobile phone, they are very tech savvy. And in the entertainment context, like we see penetration of sports betting everywhere. But at the same time, for the mobile gaming companies, they have been struggling with monetization in Africa because spending power in Africa is still low. So in this context, I think when AI and kind of blockchain comes together, they can create more enabling infrastructure like KYC infrastructure, digital identity, and with incentives created by token, and with effective fraud detection or analytics of the consumer data with the AI, I think this will push up the mass adoption of different solutions. So this is where I see the future of these two coming together.
Yeah, I think actually I feel like the AI, the UI UX in crypto is fun. I mean, just imagine if you do a self-custody for yourself, then it probably makes sense for you to write down your C phrase, right, and the private keys. And because you are now giving your money to the third party to do the custody, so it certainly makes sense for you to a little bit more actual work to kind of make sure your money is safe. So I think that's okay. So I think people just probably need to learn about this. Either you have to make a choice, right? Either you do custody by yourself, you put in a little bit actual work on that, or you just trust a third party, which is I think give you much more risk than doing self custody. I think speaking of how AI will improve this, I think I saw actually too many actually in this cycle I think that the scammers actually moving to the crypto industry. So there's so many kind of really I would say very, very high quality kind of scamming activity, which make a lot of even crypto DJing people very hard to avoiding these kind of scam. I think AI can certainly help a lot of individuals, a lot of kind of crypto users to avoiding part of them by stopping these kind of fraudulent transfer or whatever, right? So I think that's, I think from my understanding, that's definitely one potential angle about how AI can protect users, protect their, kind of the money from people or scammers.
Gotcha. So to summarize, basically AI can be used as a tool to prevent or even protect against different attack factors for crypto. That's interesting. My next question is about where do you see the challenges of the convergence of AI and crypto? We're talking about the opportunities, but where do you guys see the actual challenges of actually putting sort of two exponential technologies together? We've seen them work in the past. For example, cloud computing and mobile, right? These are two technologies that converge very well. Now we have everybody's on their phone. But do you see any challenges of merging these two technologies around the same time? Maybe I'll ask you, Mr. Satoshi, you want to start?
Sure. So Africa is becoming the huge market with population. Like by 2100, like 1/4 of the world population will be African. So I think we cannot neglect this market, but I think we also need to be aware of the best timing to enter this market to capture the opportunities there. And I think it's not mature enough in terms of pure AI and blockchain perspective. But what I see as kind of encouraging factor and potential hurdle there is that they still need lots of human touch points. So we cannot just, make it autonomous everything like AI agent and all this stuff. Like one of our biggest portfolio companies, most successful one, who became a unicorn, is like a human banking network. In Nigeria, we have like 100 million population who are underbanked or unbanked, and they need to still connect with payment solutions, or they need to make the saving without just holding cash at their home. And they built this huge agent network comprising of 300,000 agents scattered everywhere at the corner of your village, your community. And I think aligning any incentives created by tokens online should come together with kind of these real human touch points in Africa to serve this huge population. So I think and these unbanked population don't have like digital identity, and I think also that's where the technology can try to solve. So combining these two, offline portion and online function, would be really important in the African context. And to build that infrastructure, I think the role of the government is still weak. We are expecting that different players from Web3 can solve that issue with digital identity. Maybe like how Waldron is trying to achieve that is well known, but I think they are trying to incentivize people by just providing short-term gain. But I think, token has two aspects. One is to create more transactions and give utility to the people, while they can also give like reward. And I think by combining these two, we can onboard African population more effectively, and that's where I'll see like both hurdle but also as an opportunity to capture.
Yeah, I think the biggest hurdle is lacking of on-chain data for a few reasons. First, I mean, let's say a transaction on-chain, I think, contain much less information than a transaction for bank transfer, for example. Because on-chain you have, for example, I send you 100 USDT, then it will be, you have this address, sending to an address like 100 USDT, so that's the whole information. But if it's a bank transfer, then you have a lot of identity information. For example, what's my name, what's the name of the receivers, there will be much more information and much more data. The other reason is our industry is so young, and Bitcoin is less than 2008, right now it's like 17 years, less than 20 years. Ethereum is slightly more than probably 10 years. DeFi is from last cycle to here, DeFi is from 2020 to here is 5 years. So it's a very, very young industry. You don't have enough like trading activity or transaction activity on chain. So based on all these kind of reasons, we don't have much data. If you don't have enough data, how could you do trading, right? So that's, I think, the biggest hurdle. But I think once the industry grow faster in the future, there will be more on-chain activities. For example, if we move a lot of trading activity from a centralized exchange to different desks, then it will help a lot because you have much more data on chain that people can use that for trading. So I think it's still very early stage for even AI industry. So it's extremely early stage for crypto AI industry. So I believe when our industry keep growing, then we have more data, then we can solve this problem in the future.
I think that one of the biggest challenges I've seen is just figuring out where this is sort of sustainable value is captured when it comes to these AI companies and crypto in general with AI. The cycles are happening faster. So just in the same way that the capital requirements have gone down on companies, what we're also seeing is as seed investors, we invest on a 10-year horizon. But now what we're seeing is these markets that used to open up in a 10-year window sometimes open up for 1 year and then they're over. So it forces founders to be much more nimble, I think, than ever before. I think these cycles are now playing out extremely quickly. And part of that is how the companies have to position themselves to be able to benefit from these changes that are happening constantly. And in a weird way, that's incentivized people who are hyper-focused on what works today. And also on the barbell side, companies like SpaceX who are focused on something that's so hard no one else wants to go after it. But this whole middle area of like sort of good businesses, where if you spend 5 years of hard work, you can kind of go after it, all that stuff seems much more competitive now than it used to. And so what I would say is things that are value-added services one day, Studio Ghibli filter pops up on ChatGPT, a bunch of solo entrepreneurs build Studio Ghibli photo websites where they can charge $10 per photo. I saw people make millions of dollars in revenue over the course of the last month on something that ChatGPT released for free. Not the whole world knew about this, and then the pricing power goes down to zero all in 1 month. And so there's this constant sort of like alpha popping up of of opportunities where people couldn't believe a computer can do this, and then a month later, it's mundane, and it's no longer a business, and your ability to charge for it is zero. And I've never seen something like that in a cycle before, so I feel like this is kind of the new normal for tech companies.
Yeah, it's exciting in the Bay Area where we're seeing new AI models coming out almost every week from the likes of all the US frontier labs and also for China, right? We didn't talk about it too much about China, but there's a lot of innovation going on ever since after DeepSeek, right? Last minute here, maybe I'll just give you guys a last question, maybe give me like a 1 or 2 sentence answer. What is it today in the AI Web3 investment space that doesn't deserve enough attention? You guys think? Not enough chatter that's been talking about it that you guys are quite excited about. Maybe Satoshi, you can start and we go down.
Yeah, I think in general, I think narrative about Africa or narrative about Saudi Arabia are two different stories. Actually, we as a VC investor focused on this region. We combine these two as one chunk of the market, and if we combine the two, actually we have so complementary aspects of the market, and then there's a huge capital, huge regulatory sandbox, and there's a huge population even unbanked or looking for real world solutions with blockchain. So I really want to emphasize this potential from Africa and the MENA region.
Yeah, I think infrastructure is important, so I think we're running out of time.
Yeah, we're out of time, but it's the one thing I was pointing out earlier, which is if we get abundance and you already believe in that vision, then ask yourself what we need after that. Because there's a lot of people focused on the creation, but not on the organization. It's back to Google.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for everyone's time. I hope you guys had a productive session listening to our panelists today. Thank you.
ありがとうございました。ご登壇ください。